Hey, it's Joey Balladonna here from Anthrax, and this is SAGAS.
Well,
Look, this is a big one.
I didn't break out and join the podcast today.
It is now time for Devil's Advocate. Same time, same place, awesome.
What's going on, everybody? This is Corbin, the Serpent Tongue Skipwith.
And this is Ren, the Berserker Marabou. And this is
SAGAS.
SAGAS. Woo! Welcome.
Oh, good. So this week, I think it's your turn to explain what we're covering, because it's not the album you said last week.
Yeah. No, I said I got my Slipknot albums confused. Two of my favorite albums. There was All Hope Was Gone and Volume 3, the Subliminal Verses. Yeah, I don't know why. I just had a brain melt last week, got confused. But this is my favorite Slipknot album. So I thought, I'm quite versed on its awesomeness. So I felt like chatting about this particular album. So yes, that's what happened. I told Corbin it was their different album. So he's been giving me stick all morning. So, bro, tell me that as soon as I gave you 5 seconds head start on this album, what do you think first listen? I mean, I know it's an album we've listened to many times, but
Yeah. So the cool thing is, the cool thing is here is that I actually, lucky enough for this podcast episode anyway, I grew up on this album. I used to have a bunch of CD collections. I don't know what happened to them, but one of them was the first three Slipknot albums, Slipknot, Iowa, and this. And so I don't think I had All Hope Is Gone on physical form anyway, but I know I have Volume 3. And it's so many things interesting about this album, because you go from such a heavy album as Iowa or Slipknot and Iowa, the two first albums, and I struggle to call them new metal because they were so much heavier than that. And everyone's like, oh, they have a DJ. I'm like, so what? It doesn't make it any less heavy. Like, I mean, if you gave Cannibal Corpse a DJ, would that make it any less death metal? Like, to me, they're like death-themed new metal. If that's a genre, that's what Slipknot is. This album's interesting for a few reasons. First of all, I'm not sure how many of you are aware, but this is the first album and only album with no swearing, so it has no parental advisory sticker. I know this very well because growing up in a Christian household, I was stoked to present an album that had no swearing to my parents. Granted, they didn't like the screaming style music anyway, but I was stoked nonetheless. And the interesting thing about this album is that it presents us the rough blueprints for the mainstream direction they wanted to take it, with All Hope Is Gone and beyond. Because this album has songs such as, Before I Forget, has songs such as Vermilion, especially Vermilion Part 2, which is almost the prelude to songs like Snuff in All Hope Is Gone. You have the songs like Duality, and all these songs are fantastic songs, but they're a lot more catchier. They're a lot more metal radio friendly than their counterparts with Iowa and Slipknot. Obviously, no swearing in them, so it was more presentable. So to me, upon all my listens growing up and now for this album, for this podcast, it's clear, it's interesting, and it's clear to see the direction they wanted to take it. The direction they wanted to go, which obviously would probably piss off a lot of hardcore fans of their earlier stuff. And there's that constant meme going around generated that Slipknot's discography goes Slipknot, Iowa, and then Stone Sour. It's a funny meme, but it's kind of, I see the argument because they do go a lot softer in comparison. Obviously, there's a lot of creepy hard tracks on here, but I think in my opening statements, it's just like interesting to see where they were, where they wanted to go, and then to further stamp down and confirm this theory. Obviously, All Hope Is Gone, which ended up charting #1 on the Billboard charts, and this album charted #2. So you could see what they were going for, the direction they were going, and obviously with their album following this one, they pretty much perfected what they wanted, and that mainstream attention that so many bands around that same era were getting, because like I'll touch on this briefly, but in 2006, Cannibal Corpse did the same thing. They released their album Kill, which a lot of people were hesitant about because it was rumored to be their mainstream debut. And, you're always going to be hesitant, at least if you're a purist of mainstream debuts, because you don't know what direction you're going to take. Cannibal Corpse, I think, created the new metal bar, the new metal blueprint for what a mainstream release should be, because it sounds as ruthless as any of their other records, and they really didn't change all too much, which is obviously a breath of fresh air for me and other purists alike. But I think with this album, More Than All Hope Is Gone, it still has that Slipknot creepy vibe. It still has that unapologetic, crypticness that Corey Taylor loves to present. It still has the harsh instrumentation. It still has the chilling, creepiness that they were known for. It's still heavy as fuck. So in saying all that, I think for an album that's so clearly trying to evolve from what they started with and trying to progress, I think it's a very excellent effort.
Yeah, man, I totally agree. Like, I mean, like I said, it's my favorite Slipknot album. I'm pretty sure there's one or two other albums that I could put up against this one, but what I loved about this album was that they did kind of break out of their own mold. Like they weren't afraid, which is crazy. So early into their career, because am I right? Their debut album was '99. Is that right? So like, it's a short span. This is 2004. So like, they were really, really hitting their stride, like only in the couple of years leading up to this. And they just weren't afraid. It's like, like you said, like it done really well in all the Billboard charts and all that. I'm pretty sure they've sold like 30 million worldwide records. Now, I'm not entirely sure from what time frame, but I think that was, before 2020 anyway. They hit that kind of mark. But you know what? It's crazy. Like it's kind of cool. There's a lot of in-house stuff, like even the artwork behind you. It's of the Mask of Clown. But yeah, exactly. Sean is Clown's real name. Sean Crahan. Yeah, he just put that together, like, and I think that's really cool. Like they have this was with Roadrunner, this album. So they have everything at their fingertips, but yet they still want to, do the creative element as much as they can by themselves. I think, am I right in saying this was recorded by Rick Rubin? I think this was the only album that Rick Rubin recorded with the boys as well, which is really interesting, because if I was to ever have a chance to work with Rick Rubin, I don't think I'd ever want to work with anybody else. Like, like it's amazing, but you can really hear on the production of this album that Rick was involved, because it's magical. Like it's really heavy. It's got like moments where it's death metal, like kind of stuff, but then there's all these crazy beautiful, like horrifically beautiful bits thrown in, like this idea of like, it's funny that Clown is on the cover, because there is like a circus vibe and like a creepy clown, like you were saying, like it's creepy, and it's just amazing, the instrumentation and the approach to writing, like the fearless approach to writing. I won't go into any specific instrumentation yet, but it just really took me by surprise, this album. Like I really, really liked it. Like I'd actually, put this up as one of, if an album, if I'm listening to it, what's it now, 2022, listening to an album since 2004 and still finding subtle nuances in the tracks, it's magic, like, sure.
Yeah, it's interesting because, for some reason, I don't know what came over me this week, but I was listening to All Hope Is Gone like an idiot. Yeah, I don't know what happened, but I guess I'm just a bit retarded. But it's interesting when you listen to the album. It's just like, to hear the the blueprint finally finished of their mainstream debut. Because although this one did, as you said, this one did sell a lot of records. It did make an impact in the metal scene. I think All Hope Is Gone made the biggest splash. Obviously, it debuted number 1, and it had songs like Psychosocial and Snuff and fucking Sulfur. Like pretty much all the songs were tailored for the mainstream radio. And I still remember to this day. I used to have this friend, associate in high school. He was a bit unhinged. I swear. I'm not joking. I swear, if I remember correctly, the teacher said that he came from like a mental asylum. Like he was this dark kid, tall, lanky, and he used to always have this like switchblade that he would like twirl around in his hands. But it was around the same time All Hope Is Gone came out. When I saw him, and he hated it. He despised that album. I don't remember why, but he never explained it to me properly. But it's interesting because like you hear songs like I said mentioned earlier, like Vermilion Part 2. I mean, if you're a purist of the original Slipknot, the first 2, you must be horrified to hear a song like that. I mean, I love that song personally, but it's just like to hear the direction of Vermilion Part 1 and 2, to hear the direction, it's like there must have been a lot of metalheads going like, what the fuck? Like, what's happened to you boys? It's just like, but the one thing that's interesting is that Corey Taylor, I think this album may be only rivaling Iowa in terms of this one feature, but I think besides Iowa, this is probably Corey Taylor's most cryptic lyricism, like Slipknot-wise, because it's just very like tailored with the creepy instrumentation, with the wide range of almost horror ambient production, thanks to Rick Rubin. I think his cryptic lyricism that he's so well known for in the band shines perfectly in this record specifically, because it has that darker feel than normal. This album, instead of what they lack in heaviness from the previous 2 albums, they make up for in aesthetic. They make up for in ambience. They make up for in this really weird trance-like album where it just engulfs you into this madman's world, which you don't really get in the other 2 albums. Besides maybe Iowa. Iowa's pretty creepy. But, I mean, besides that, it's just like they're going into new territory, new sounds, new everything. And I think, they made such a bold decision in doing that. But obviously, they make up for it in other areas. And, I think it's important when you're a band who's changing their style up the way they did, you have to make sure that you insert something in there to make up for what you're taking away. You can't just make a new album with the stuff taken away and act as if everything's okay, because you're gonna lose your core fan base. You're gonna get negative press. You're gonna fuck your whole reputation up because you weren't careful enough to add in something. And obviously, the gargantuan add-in was Rick Rubin, and I mean you can't go wrong with him. But in my last minute of holding the podium, so to speak, I do want to ask you a question, because it got me curious after thinking about this album. Do any of your albums have parental advisory stickers?
Interesting. Oh, me? Are you asking me?
Do any of your albums have parental advisory stickers?
Oh, the Slipknot ones, yeah. I mean,
do they have swearing on them? I don't remember.
No, not in my albums that I've written.
Yeah,
no,
I'm curious, because like I was thinking about the Berserkers. I'm like, do you guys have any parental advisory?
Nah.
Nah.
I did. Back in the day, I used to curse on a couple of, but my I think it was my mother. She was like, no, don't be cursing on track. And I just kind of got used to not, even it's funny because in Donegal, where I'm living now, cursing is just like a second language out here. Like it's very much, if you tell somebody to F off out here, it doesn't necessarily mean a bad thing. Like there's a lot of that out here. So it's funny because I try not to curse in my normal life that much, because I then do, because of doing so many interviews, like yourself as well, man.
Yeah.
I'd be kind of conscientious that if I curse a lot in that day leading up to an interview, I'm gonna curse in the interview. And they don't really want to do that. Plus, when you're on stage, it's weird how many people can react to you being with like saying profanity and stuff. It's crazy. Like why people give her shit, really. Like, it's kind of like just whatever. It's just a fucking word. Like, but like I did have a couple of songs and I don't know. It was a little gauche on record. It just felt a bit wrong. But like, it is interesting because I didn't know that. You pointed that out, that this album had no parental guidance, or whatever it's called. And it's weird because it's something that I stopped looking at on album covers. Like, I suppose nowadays you don't really get the physical copy and you don't really get to see, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe did Corey start having kids around this time or something? He got a bit of a daddy buzz. I do know there was the album was delayed in the process. It took a while. I think he was like drinking heavily and stuff, like. And I just think it's crazy how you can, go through struggles like that and produce such an incredible piece of art. Like, his vocals on this album are some of my favorite vocals, definitely by him, but of the time as well, and of the, extended genre that it is, like new metal. Like, I like the way you described it earlier, because there's a lot more grit to it than new metal. But there's one or two songs in here that do have that lovely nostalgic vibe. Um, but yeah, like, starting off straight off the bat with the Prelude 3, it's just straight away I was like, right, this album's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be something here. Like, it's real slick, modern, almost proggy kind of vibe. And then it just launches into the Blister exits. Like, it's just a super headbanger, typical Slipknot kind of fashion, like, which I was really happy to hear. And that signature guitar sound and Joey's drums, like, he's an awful loss to the drumming community. I mean, fucking hell, like, he was just absolutely deadly. But that track has that really cool military drum thing, and can you feel me? You know that, can you feel this? I'm dying to feel this. Like, that's a real, like, this is the basically the first full track on the album, and it's sucking you in already. Like, it's rip roaring, so straight away from that track I was hooked. Like, it's just deadly. And is that the one with the drums? Dum dum dum.
Um, yeah.
uh, and
Or it could be
Corey
the third
scream,
track, maybe.
yeah, Corey screaming over the drum. Oh, it's absolutely beautiful. It's really, really cool. So I don't know, man. I could listen to this one all day, every day, and be happy out. Like, there's something. I think there's something for. It's funny. I played a gig the other night, and I often get a lot of people saying to me, "Geez, I didn't think I'd like that," or, "I'm not usually into heavy music, but I like that." And it's like, right, right. That's the vibe I get from this album. I think they would have gained an awful lot of fans that they wouldn't have had from the previous album. And I always find that really interesting when bands do that. They're just not afraid. So, fair play to them. Fair play.
Before we go on before we go on to the next bit, because guess what, ladies and gentlemen, we have lives and stuff to do outside of SAGAS. Oh my god. So unfortunately this would be shorter than normal, but we did it for you guys. We still rocked up. I was just gonna say, as much as Joey Jordison is probably one of the biggest losses in drumming next to John Burnham from Zeppelin, but it always, and I think I sent you this only recently, but it never fails to make me laugh to watch him live touring with the bands, and he never changes his tempo. It's just,
no, yeah.
So, like, he'll be touring with Slipknot, sorry, System of a Down or Korn, and no matter what song, he's just always the same tempo. Oh, it makes you laugh. Because, like, they have to improvise and make their speed faster. Oh, it's fucking hilarious. So anyway, we're going to be talking about our Devil's Advocate soon, but Ren, is there any sponsors you want to talk about?
Sponsors. Yeah, I suppose I wouldn't mind giving a shout out to Cassidy's Guitars, because I had to send my gear away to Scandinavia on the day before yesterday, with all the band's gear, and I'm sad for my guitar. It's somewhere, whether it's on a coach, on a freight, on a plane, I don't know. And I miss me lovely Cassidy's guitar that they made specifically for me. But they're just a kick-ass guitar company, and like they cater to musicians that are starting out and musicians that are touring and stuff. So if anybody's thinking about getting a guitar for somebody, for it's not far away from Christmas now, and Simon is a busy man, but I'm sure he'll get the type of guitar that you're looking for. So give Cassidy's Guitars and I'll shout, and lovely Simon and Co will sort you out. So
Nice. So today I just want to give a quick shout out to the to Viking Trinkets. So this is what I have. The good old, mine's called the Binding of Finial. It has a little Major hammer at the end. The actual base of it is called the actual just the base part is called the Gleipnir's Hold. I probably butchered that. But you can buy it separately, just this part and the ring. But if you want this together, the Binding of Finial, it is an amazing product. I'm not just saying it because we're sponsored by them. I literally wear this every day. I wear it to work. I just cover it. You don't really see it. I wear it in the shower. Like literally, I never take it off. I've had it on for like a week. Well, whenever we got it, I've had it on the whole time. It's durable. It's got a nice, easy latch to take off if I ever had to. It's easy to conceal for work, and it feels comfortable. It has a nice weight to it, which is pretty cool. It took a while to get used to that part because I had nothing on before, so to have a bit of weight is interesting. But it's really nice, and it's only $59 on special, and it was originally $119, which is worth it regardless. But now it's $59. There's different sizes. I think I got the biggest one. I think. Either way, adjustable sizes. Go check them out. Viking Trinkets. And if you want to get something from there, use our promo code SMP10 for 10% off, and go tell the boys that the SAGAS Metal Podcast sent you. Cool. So now we're on to our very lovely Devil's
Advocate.
Devil's Advocate.
I didn't have the acoustic beside me today. I was like, shite, where's my guitar? Devil's Advocate.
All right, so I'll go first.
Sick.
For some reason I always do go first. So for the first, I think it was pretty easy for me upon re-listening what the worst track is. And for me, that song is Circle. I don't know why. I found it a boring track in the midst of the amazing Twisted Wonderland that is this album. Circle just kind of drew me out a little bit. I was like, oh yeah, this is just not normal, but compared to the other tracks, a relatively normal metal track. No head against the track itself, but yeah, for me, it was the weakest link of the album. So unfortunately, as they say, the circle always comes back around. So my favorite track is going to be interesting because I think normally in the past, this is a song that I would have chosen as the worst track for other reasons in the past, but I'm going to break the mold and say Vermilion Part 2. It's weird because I know in the past I've hated on or pointed out songs that are so different from the rest of the album that it makes it bad, and I guess I'm being kind of a hypocrite here, but both. Vermilion 1 is a good prelude to Vermilion Part 2, but Vermilion Part 2 is such an emotional track, and I'm one of those people that welcome emotional tracks on my everyday playlist, or I'll go to my body to listen to emotional tracks because I feel it's almost healthy in a way to listen to all kinds of emotions in tracks: happy, angry, depressed, sad. And like, I know some people who stay away from it because they don't want to feel sad, and I get it. It's not really normally an emotion you want to put in yourself, but for me, I listen to songs like Vermilion Part 2 and Snuff like on the weekly. I'll sit there sometimes on my lunch break after eating lunch and just sitting there like drowning in some fake sorrow that I never had. But it's nice because it brings out the sadness out of your body, and you're like, fuck. But I don't know, it's just like Snuff. It's such a heavily emotional track, and it's just like the lyrics, and then it's like, I won't let them take them, or whatever it was, like, I won't let this build up inside of me, and then it's like, and also I don't know what it is, but the cadence, the way he says the line, what is it? When he goes, I don't know what to do when she makes me sad. The way he says sad, the cadence of it is just so like I didn't realize until listening again but it's like makes me sad, and I'm like, fuck, he just sounds depressed saying that line, and I don't know why that specific line, but yeah. So to me, that is the worst end diss track.
Man, I tell you, Vermilion Part 2 is absolutely beautiful. Like that bit, like, she isn't real.
Yeah.
I can't make her real. Or I can't make her real. It's just magic. It's beautiful. I would have preferred that bit of that song to not have the won't let this build up inside me. If they just like let the she isn't real bit just air by itself, like it would have been for me anyway. But it's absolutely beautiful. It's a magical song. So yeah, I mean, like I absolutely would have said that's a favorite track on the album. But what pegged it for me was one of my favorite. It just excites me, you know. Before I forget, you know, I think this is probably one of their most well-rounded songs. Like it's, you know, I'm pretty sure it's my favorite Slipknot song. It's just perfect songwriting. Like it's excellent songwriting. The chorus is pure epic. You know, you couldn't ask for more. Like the bridge actually really hits me deep. Like there's like that beautiful guitar run, and they just hit all the perfect notes, and it just conjures up emotion. Like it's very cool for like a straight up riff and rock song. You know, it manages to grab that emotion as well. So it's absolutely killer. So before I forget, it's definitely my favorite track. But Pulse of the Maggots definitely was a close one for me. I just love that Pulse of the Maggots and Duality. Speaking of which, I'll give a shout out to Damien. He done my buddy Damien. He's a crew member. He's a band member. He's everything. He helps us out. In the last weekend, he saved my bacon. He knows why, but he's in a band called Duality actually. So if you're in Letterkenny, go see Damien's awesome band. But that's just an anthem, you know, just absolutely buzzing track that. So yeah, my least favorite track is, I found it very difficult. I'm gonna just say Welcome, just because the only part of that song that really jumps out to me is the guitar playing in it. It's amazing guitar playing. His voice, I mean, Corey's voice in this whole album, specifically this song, has this vocal gymnastics. You know, like he'll jump from different, and I commend him for that. It's absolutely killer. Vermilion is bitching as well. The solo in that with the Floyd Rhodes is just killer. But yeah, Welcome, I think, which is still a killer song. It's just my least favorite. Yeah, so there you go. So I didn't match up with you at all this week, bro.
Welcome. Oh no, I said sorry.
Yeah. Welcome must have been on your list, was it?
Oh, I was like, did I say welcome? No. Well, before I forget.
Nice.
Before I forget, the next album we'll be talking about next week is Korn 3, Remember Who You Are. And, you know, obviously, when it comes to a band like Korn, actually, the first band that Ren suggested we cover, like, you know, the first time Korn was mentioned, we were going to talk about their debut album, Korn. But I thought of a different album, this one, because, you know, it's just, I guess the fact that after all this longevity or lack thereof, depending on who you talk to, for them to come back, I think it was in 2010 the song came out. For them to come back with such an interesting album, I had to talk about it. Yeah, 2010, had to talk about it, and so yeah, that will be the album coming up. So speaking of, yeah, so Korn 3, Remember Who You Are is next week's album, and until then, as we always say here on SAGAS, same time, same place, or something.